Okay, when we are diagramming adverbs, it is not that different. We're adding another part to our adverb. So I want you to look up, you don't need to open your book yet. You just need to look up here. That will go to our book and then get started. So, all right, if this is my sentence, the stallion bucked furiously, I'm going to find my verb and my subject first. So my verb is bucked and my subject is stallion. Okay. And then where I'm going to find adjectives and adverbs. Okay. So my word that's describing stallion is what word? What word is describing stallion? Gianna?
The.
So this would be my adjective. Okay, that word is describing stallion, the stallion. So what word is describing bucked? How did the horse buck? What word is describing bucked? Jessica?
Furiously.
Furiously. So it's describing bucked. Okay. And we're going, yeah, from furiously to bucked. Okay, so now all I'm going to have is one new part, right? I have just adverbs. We already know how to do adjectives. So I'm going to diagram just like normal my subject and my verb. Now, remember when we do adjectives, it goes on the subject side. So I'm going to do the. Now, when I diagram an adverbs, it goes under the verb side. So I'm going to put furiously over here. The hardest thing that you'll see as we're going, this is a very simple sentence, is going to be when we have the words in the sample one, is when we have adverbs that modify adjectives. It's not going to be as simple as just writing them under the verb. They're going to have to be underneath the adverb, underneath the verb. So I'll show you what I mean when we're on that page. Okay. So go to page 194, and then we're going to look at some samples. And you are not writing on your paper yet. Go to 194. And just look at the top of your paper right now, because right now we're just we're looking at samples, and that we're going to do a couple that are already started for you. We're just filling in the bottom parts. Then we'll get to starting, and then you're going to do some on your own for me. And I do want to see, you are going to send some of these to Miss Palmer, because I want to see what you do with the adverbs. Okay. Jacob M, do you have a question, or is that just your hand? Okay. All right, so look at this sample one. I already did that one for you. That's just a basic one with a subject, a verb, and an adjective and an adverb. So you would just have a line under each. Nothing fancy. That is not a fancy one in any way. So, example 2 is when you have an adverb modifying an adjective. So you have extremely small. So that's when we had our supersize. So remember when we were learning that, when the next word had a like extremely small, it was the next word over. So if you look at we're in the blue box. So if you look at, there are no lines under the verb because the verb is not being modified at all. The word small is the word. So it's like a step. I call it a step. So you're going to do like a step, and then you would put your adverb under your step. Extremely small. And you'll be able to see when we get to those parts. And then number 3 has adjectives that are modifying steak. What kind of steak do you have? It's the juicy steak. And then on the other side, you have how did it cook? It cooked quickly, but you wouldn't say very cooked. That doesn't make any sense. Very cooked? No. But it's describing very quickly. So again, it's an adverb describing that is a word, it's an adverb describing another adverb. Very quickly. Okay, so it's another step. So that's what I mean about sometimes adverbs can be a little tricky because you have to figure out what is it modifying. So that's why you always find them in your sentence first, and then you can figure out where to put them in your diagram. All right, so let's look at number 1 and number 2 in your book. Do you see how they already started it for us? And we're just going to finish and figure out what's modifying there. So look at number 1. It says, too much time was needlessly wasted. So it said, so they said time was the subject and was wasted is the verb. We are on page 194. Okay, so what word is describing time? Who thinks they know? What word is describing time? Who thinks they know? Val?
Too much.
Okay, just pick one word. What word should go on the long line?
Much.
Much. Very good. Much is how much time is wasted? Much time. So much is the word that should go on the long line. But what word is describing much? How much time is wasted? What should go on this step? Gabby?
Too.
2. Yes. So that's what should go on this step because that's our adverb modifying much. So it's too much. So it should be on the step. Too much. Too much. All right. Now, was wasted. Do you see an adverb describing was wasted? I'm just waiting for some people. Chloe,
Needless.
what's your word?
Needless.
Well, you're correct. Just add the ending. Needlessly. Needlessly. Very good. Needlessly. Needlessly should go. It was needlessly was wasted. That should be the line on the second, the adverb on the second line. All right. Now let's look at number 2. The prodigal son lived very wickedly. So what kind of son do we have? What 2 words describe the son? Clay?
The prodigal.
Very good. The prodigal. Write down those 2 words. The prodigal. How about words describing lived? What word described how he lived? Autumn?
Wickedly.
Very good. Wickedly. Now, what word describes wickedly? What word? He wasn't just living wickedly, he was living. What word describes wickedly?
Very.
Very wickedly. So that's the one that goes on the step. very wickedly, very wickedly. Okay. Any questions on those two? Because now we're going to start doing our own. This is what you need your paper for. Not quite yet, in a couple of minutes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to find the subject, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs in the sentences. Then we're going to diagram. Stephanie, pay attention. All right, so number one, it says we're going to underline the verbs 2 times, subjects once, and we're going to find our words that are modifying, just like I did, how we pointed our arrows. So number one, what is my verb? The sky suddenly darkened. What is my verb? Eli, what's the action in number one?
Yeah. Suddenly.
No, suddenly is describing the verb. Suddenly what?
Darken.
Darkened. Very good. So underline darkened 2 times and draw an arrow from suddenly to darkened. Stephanie, what is my subject?
Sky.
Sky. What word is describing sky? The. So draw an arrow from the to sky. All right, so now on your paper, I'm going to see this. I'm going to see this paper. So you better do it correctly. I want you to write number one, and we're going to write a line, and we're going to write the subject and the verb. So we're going to write sky, and we're going to write darkened. Now we're going to write, we only have 2 modifiers. We don't have to add anything else. So the word that we wrote down that modifies sky is the, and the word that modifies darkened is suddenly. So this is number one. This is what you should have for number one. This better be correct on your paper because we did it together. Yes, Michelle and Coretta.
What is the meaning of prodigal?
That's from the Bible. Prodigal just means that he was lost, but then he came home. Remember in the Bible? That's the story of the son that left and spent all his money, and then he came back home to his father.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right, number two, let's underline our subjects and our verbs. All students should study diligently. What is my verb? Belle?
Students.
What?
Students.
No, my verb.
Or your verb. Study.
Okay, study has a helper.
Should study.
Should study. Underline should study twice. Do you see a word that's describing should study? Anybody? Colin?
Diligently.
Diligently. So draw an arrow from diligently to should study to both words. All right, what's my subject? What's my subject? Kansky?
Students.
Students, underline students. What word is describing students, Kansky?
All.
All, very good. Draw a line from all to students. All right, now number two. You're going to do it the same way. Do we have any? We're going to do our line. We're going to do students. Now this is one verb. So we're going to just do should study. This is not a compound verb. It's one verb phrase. Should study. Now we're going to have all students and then should study. And then our word was diligently, right? So we haven't got to any with a step yet. All right. Number 3, I want you to do on your own right now, because number 3 is just like this one. Do number 3 on your own. Underline it on your paper and diagram it on your paper. I want to get to one that I want to get to one that has a step. So, anybody have a question on how to diagram these without steps? Addison?
Will you ever have to put 3 of the lines?
3
At the bottom?
lines? Like underneath?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
could, yeah. Number 5, you have to put 3 underneath the subject. And number 4, you have to put 2. So sometimes you do. So anybody else have a question about diagramming these? I want to get to one with a step so you can see how to do that. Miss Palmer, it's nice of you to join us today. Miss Palmer is tardy.
Sorry.
She gets a tardy slip.
Yeah, I thought it was 1:30. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Let's go down to, I want to do number 11 together. So go down to number 11. Everybody look at number 11. I think the other ones you could do, but let's look at number 11. Number 11 says, the very old clock ticked steadily. So what is my subject? Or what's my verb? Cherith, what's the verb in number 11? The clock did what?
The clock ticked steadily.
Ticked. Very good. All right, so underline tick 2 times. And what word is describing ticked? How did it tick?
Steadily.
Steadily. Okay, so draw a line from steadily to ticked. All right, Jasmine, unmute your stuff. Okay, there. Jasmine, what's my subject in number 11?
Very.
No. What ticked?
Old clock.
Okay, does it have to be old? Could it be new? Could it be
Clock.
just clock? Okay, just clock. All right, what words, Jasmine, are describing the clock? What should we draw lines to?
Very old.
Okay, you're missing one.
The very old clock.
Very good. The very old. So you have 3 lines. The very old. Clay, did you do this one? Number 11? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to diagram this. Okay, so this is number 11. So write it like on the back of your paper or on the side somewhere. So our subject and verb. So we have clock and ticked. This one's different. This is why I want to I want you to see it. Ticked. Okay, so the first word is the. Don't just write 3 words to describe, because it was an old clock, but it wasn't a very clock, was it? No. Does it make sense to say very? It wasn't very. It was very old. So you're going to do a step right here. It was very old. So you're going to do a step like that. Very old. Like a step on to old. And then, so this is like, you don't do it on here. Sometimes I see boys and girls do it like on this, like a line, but it's very is describing old. And then on this side, we only have one adverb, and that's steadily. So this should be your diagram for number 11. And you have one more that's like that, and that's number 14. You're going to have another word, very. Okay. So on the bottom of your paper, I'm just going to tell you which ones you're going to do. You're not going to do them all. Okay. So just circle these ones. Make sure you know. Okay. So you're going to, we already did 1, 2, and 11. So you're going to do, you did 3 on your own. I want you to do 4, 6, 8, 12, and 14. I'll say it again. We did 1, 2, 3. So you're going to do 4, 6, 8, 12, and 14. That's all you have to do. All the other ones you don't have to do. Okay? When you are done diagramming those, I don't need to see your book. I don't need to see your book. I just want you to send your diagrams to Miss Palmer so she could see how your diagrams look, if you're doing these correctly or not. It's not, Miss Palmer, it's not going to be a grade. I just want you to check and see if they're doing the adverbs and adjectives on the right side. So just scan it over. And then if they're doing like it terrible, then I'll have to go over this again. Okay. That's why I saved some.
Mhm.
Michelle, Coretta,
I have a question about number 3.
yeah.
Will the verb be certainly, or would it be
No.
paid?
No, certainly is not a verb. How do you do certainly? Show me. How would you do that? The debt will certainly be paid. So what would the verb be?
Paid
Well, it has helpers.
will be paid.
Yes, will be paid.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Does everyone understand what to do?